On the morning of September 19, 1944, a heavy gray fog rolled across the fields near Arracourt, France, muffling sound and shrinking visibility to only a few dozen meters. In this eerie quiet, First Lieutenant Merwin Men of the 37th Tank Battalion steadied himself at the rim of his Sherman's turret as his gunner swept the misty landscape through a periscope. American tankers had been warned repeatedly about the Panther, the German medium tank whose thickly sloped frontal armor made it virtually immune to most Allied tank fire. What Lieutenant Men and most crews did not yet realize was that hidden in their ammunition racks were 6 rounds unlike anything they had carried before. 6 M93 high-velocity armor-piercing, or HVAP shells. These tungsten cord projectiles would change not only their odds that day, but the broader perception of American armored firepower. The Panther's seeming invulnerability had caused shock and frustration at every level of command. The U.S. Army had failed to anticipate just how many Panthers Germany would field in Western Europe. Planners had expected only a small number, but by the time of the Normandy landings in June 1944, Panthers made up 38% of all German tanks in the theater. The American M4 Sherman, workhorse of U.S. armored divisions, was suddenly confronting an enemy tank it could hardly hurt from the front. The older 75mm gun found on early Shermans bounced harmlessly off the Panther's 80mm glacis plate, sloped at 55 degrees, an angle that effectively increased the steel's protective value to roughly 140 millimeters. Even the improved 76mm M1 gun, which began arriving in France in the summer of 1944, proved unable to penetrate the Panther's frontal armor except at extremely short range. American tank crews quickly discovered that engaging a Panther from the front usually meant destruction. The German gun, a high-velocity 75mm KWK-42, could punch through a Sherman at distances exceeding 2,000 meters. The Sherman's survival depended on maneuvering into side or rear shots, no easy task in the hedgerows of Normandy. Reports sent to General Eisenhower in early July 1944 described the unsettling effectiveness of the Panther and the shortcomings of U.S. tank guns. Ike famously demanded, "You mean our 76 won't knock these Panthers out? I thought it was going to be the wonder gun of the war." His frustration triggered a series of reviews that confirmed what crews already knew. German armor was outperforming American firepower.
A partial solution had already been conceived, not through changes in tank design, but through innovations in ammunition metallurgy. American ordnance engineers had been working on sub-caliber, high-velocity penetrators since 1942. These efforts produced the T4 round, later designated the M93 HVAP, which contained a dense tungsten carbide core sheathed in a lighter metal body. By reducing mass around the penetrator and maximizing its density, engineers created a projectile that left the Sherman's gun at 1,036 meters per second, dramatically faster than the standard M62 round. In ballistic tests, HVAP easily pierced the Panther's gun mantlet, the only significant weak spot on its front, at ranges up to 1,000 meters, whereas conventional ammunition required dangerous point-blank distances. Yet the United States faced a hurdle Germany understood all too well: tungsten scarcity. Tungsten carbide was needed not only for anti-armor projectiles, but also for machine tools, armor heat treatment, aircraft engines, and countless industrial processes. The U.S. relied heavily on Chinese tungsten mines, which supplied over 1/3 of the world's total. American factories in Colorado, Nevada, and California provided additional material, but never enough to meet demand. Each 76mm HVAP shell used nearly 0.9 kilograms of tungsten carbide. Giving even 6 rounds to every Sherman represented a considerable industrial investment. Germany, with almost no domestic tungsten and diminishing access to foreign suppliers, was in even worse shape, and had been forced to ration similar ammunition for its own guns. By the summer of 1944, American industry rushed to increase HVAP production. Only 1,000 rounds of the 76mm version were made in August. Another 1,000 followed in September. Production finally accelerated in November, reaching 5,000, and peaked at 7,000 per month in early 1945. Still, averages remained low. By February 1945, most 76mm Shermans carried only 5 HVAP rounds, a handful of shots meant to counter the most dangerous tank in the German arsenal. The terrain of Normandy's hedgerows had offered little opportunity to exploit the new ammunition. Close-range ambushes, foliage, and narrow lanes gave German gunners too many advantages. But conditions changed drastically when General Patton's Third Army burst into the open farmland of Lorraine in September 1944. There, the 4th Armored Division pushed eastward, establishing a precarious bridgehead near the village of Arracourt. Alarmed by this advance, the German command ordered elements of the 5th Panzer Army, including the newly formed 111th and 113th Panzer Brigades, to eliminate the American foothold. These units fielded large numbers of freshly produced Panthers, though the crews operating them were inexperienced and insufficiently trained.
The Battle of Arracourt, fought from September 18 to 29, became one of the most significant armored clashes of the European War. Despite the impressive specifications of the Panther, the German attack was plagued by poor reconnaissance, hasty planning, and limited infantry or artillery support. Before dawn on the 19th, German tanks rolled forward blind through the fog, advancing in columns directly into the lines of the 37th Tank Battalion. Fog that crippled German visibility provided concealment for American defenders. One of the first dramatic encounters occurred when a Panther emerged only 75 meters from a Sherman commanded by Captain Kenneth Lameson's company. At such short range, the Sherman gunner had no need to calculate lead or drop. He fired an HVAP round instantly. The tungsten penetrator struck the Panther's mantlet, tore through the gun assembly, and ignited ammunition inside. The tank erupted in a flash, its turret lifting off its ring. 2 more Panthers appeared moments later and met the same fate. The remaining German tanks withdrew in shock. Panthers were never supposed to be destroyed frontally by Sherman fire. Throughout the morning, similar small engagements unfolded across the fog-covered fields. American tankers, aware they only had a few HVAP rounds each, fired with precision and discipline. M18 Hellcat tank destroyers, also armed with 76mm guns and now supplied with HVAP, darted through gaps in the terrain, using their speed to strike and reposition before the Germans could react. As the fog lifted, American artillery observers finally gained visibility and called down accurate fire on Panther concentrations. Soon after, P-47 Thunderbolts dove through breaks in the clouds, strafing and rocketing German armor. What